What I'm going to concentrate this morning on is the global case for change. And this is a sophisticated audience. I don't need to start from scratch here. You will know I am absolutely confident that these four drivers are fundamental in requiring us, absolutely requiring us, to rethink how we structure our learning systems. And I'll use this term, and I'll come back to it again, how we design our learning systems. Too often, I think, basically what we do is inherit learning systems. We inherit the system that was devised round about the 19th century, which got honed and improved in the 20th, and which we continue to buffer up the edges at in the 21st. We inherited it, we didn't design it. And school leaders now are in a far, far stronger position to become designers. And I would argue that classroom teachers too need to be designers of learning. But our changing world creates the frame as to why we need to engage in that kind of redesign. The first three, I'm sure you will have read about, you know the case pretty strongly, but technology, globalization, and economies in flux, and they're deeply, of course, intertwined and connected. On the technological front, Andreas referred to much of that, but let's just reflect that we now live in a world where a huge electronic, digital network links billions of people and their thoughts and their feelings in a way never seen before. Moreover, not just connecting their thoughts and their feelings, but connecting them as individuals to hugely expanding volumes of data and information, to systems of sensors which are ubiquitously being placed around our terrestrial globe as well as in GPS, and increasingly so to robots who are capable of undertaking large numbers of the tasks which previously only human beings could do, and very shortly, within our professional lifetimes, unquestionably, will be capable of some of the functions which we thought were only special to and precious to our species. We're in reach of that. We're touching it. All of that technology is taking place in a globalized world where increasingly we can think about it as Earth Inc., where internationally economies are deeply interconnected in ways such that the Earth is increasingly operating like an integrated whole, such that if the Italians decide to elect a comedian in a recent election, this will have a very rapid effect upon the price of coffee in China and probably the level of interest rates to getting a small business going in Nicaragua. I've started to think about a metaphor there of connected dominoes collapsing, but it's the wrong metaphor. Things aren't necessarily collapsing, but they are deeply interconnected, and it's partly to do with the technology, it's partly to do with the globalization, and of course that builds into economies being in flux, not just because of the banking crisis or what happened with the euro, but a whole range of other major instabilities in our economic systems. Tony referred to the book, which I'll be saying a little bit about tomorrow night, in which we were required to look and research into what is happening in the world of work and how it is that shifts in economies are fundamentally changing how labour forces operate and the skills that are required to do that. So that's all part of the context of which I'm sure you are acutely aware. And two other pieces in that. One, the degradation of the environment, the fundamental lack of balance between the fragile ecosystems upon which we utterly depend for our existence, and our own production and consumption patterns, upon which we are unreflective, and about which we have utterly inappropriate, yet universally accepted metrics, such as GDP. And yet most thoughtful economists recognize that consistently referring only to GDP as a measure of economic progress is fundamentally problematic, as I'll come to in a moment. And the fourth one, which is not so often spoken about, but equally important, is the fundamental imbalances which characterize demographic profiles across the world. And if I simplify grotesquely, there are two, basically. In many parts of the world, an aging population whose large number of older people are going to be incapable of being properly supported in pension terms or indeed in living by a shrinking working base. And most Western countries come into that category. Contrasted with, in many parts of the developing world, though not all, there are some marked exceptions to this, an explosion of young people marked by huge numbers of unemployed, giving rise to phenomena like the Arab Spring. So these imbalances are leading us to reflect upon what that means for our young learners and the future of the world that they must both inhabit and shape. If you read one new book this year, and apologies to those who've already read it, then my recommendation to you is to read Al Gore, who I thought rather unambitiously called his book The Future. I mean, what a great thing to... Here's the future. It's based on 8 years of research. This is what he's been doing fundamentally since he did An Inconvenient Truth. It's research-based, it's data-rich, and it's a fantastic read. It's not a hard read, truly. I've been reading it and been blown away. And in addition to the drivers which I just remarked upon in terms of this global case for change, Al adds two more. The first is the emergence of rapid and unsustainable growth across many dimensions of our existence. In populations, that is to say, the total inhabitants that this planet is trying to support, but also in very particular regions, which are going to create very marked inter-regional conflicts in the near future. Growth in cities, and of course, completely unbridled growth in resource consumption. And the big one, the really big one, which I'm not sure I fully understand, but I know that it is important and I know that it frightens me. And this is the emergence of a whole set of revolutionary new technologies. So in the future, when we talk about the technology, we'll no longer mean simply, as we do now, the electronic digital technology, which has been so important to us and so fundamental, but a whole set of new ones. Biological, biochemical, genetic, and materials science technologies. And I quote Al here, "These are enabling us to reconstitute the molecular design of all solid matter and seize active control over evolution." And he means just that. He is talking about the possibility of shifting how we as a species evolve, and indeed the creation of new species. And we will see this within our lifetime. Now, these phenomenal features of global change add up, in my mind, to a single question as an educator, which is, what kind of people is it that we must try to create, not just to cope with all of this, but to shape it? And I don't know what your answer to that is. Maybe that will be part of the buzz session that you come onto. But for me, it goes beyond skills. It goes beyond the 21st century skills set. Much so I support those, and I think they're really important. But it seems to me that it goes beyond it in the sense that it's about the people whose values are such that we would be confident that they would know how to handle themselves and what to consider to be important and what matters. How they manage to coexist with other species, shifting species, and with each other. What kind of people are you trying to create in this new world?